NLP can help you. Stay tuned. Say hi.
Cuba.
Cuba.
Where are you from?
U.S., California.
Oh, America.
California.
Very good
Yes.
country.
Thank you.
You like Cuba? I like
I
it.
love Cuba.
Although you are right.
What's that?
Although you are right.
4 days ago.
For this.
Only Havana.
Havana. No, 4 days. This is Damon Cart from NLP Gym. How NLP can help you. If you haven't already, please click subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can get these videos on a regular basis. If you haven't guessed by now, I am in Havana, Cuba. It's a lovely country. The people are awesome. The music and the culture are amazing. If you want to see more of my travels here, you can go to my other YouTube channel, Midlife Man, where I go more in depth with the travels here. I'll share a little bit of my personal story about NLP and the practices that I had previous to this, which was I was really into setting goals, personal development, self-improvement, which a lot of people are into, and it's how they find their way to NLP. I got really into non-duality, and it was a way for me to sort of work on my suffering, my inner suffering. And non-duality is a wonderful study. It's hard to say that it's not much of a practice, it's more of an understanding. But it didn't give me applications, it didn't give me real techniques to use. So it wasn't something I could put into place to solve problems, but it was a very good mindset to come from. So I just didn't find it very practical to solve the problems that I was facing in my life at the time. Now, I never really got into The Secret and the Law of Attraction, but it has a lot of appeal, and it had a lot of appeal for me, and it has a lot of appeal for a lot of people. But again, the unfortunate thing about that is there's some truth to those ideas, those concepts, but again, you don't really get the real life exercises and applications and practice to put it into your life and make it really work for you. NLP is what gave me that. I'm going to go through some practices of what NLP implements that can really help you really change your life, help you achieve the goals that you want, help you overall get what you want out of life. The first thing is clarity about what you want. If you don't know what you want, it's going to be very hard for you to get it. It's sort of like getting into a cab in New York and saying, I don't want to go to Times Square. And the cab driver's like, well, where do you want to go? They're like, I don't want to go to Penn Station. And the cab driver's going to be like, well, where do you want to go? I don't want to go to Central Park. Okay, so you get the idea. If you don't know where you're going, if you don't have a target, if you don't have a vision, a goal, you're not going to know how to get there. So the first thing is the well-formed outcome in NLP. Super important, helps you focus on what you want, takes it even further so that you understand the value of what it is you're trying to experience. This is so important too. Values is what you live for. Your values are what every decision is based on. Now, unfortunately, we get these confused a lot of times with outside values, what other people think is important or other people find important for us, and what society and your culture, what all these other values are. We get confused between our values and those values. Those values are never really going to fulfill you. So you really want to get in touch with what your own values are. And there's nothing wrong with fulfilling values outside of yourself. There's nothing wrong with pleasing your parents and doing the things that your culture and society think you should do, as long as you know the difference between your values and those outside values, and that those outside values are never going to fully fulfill you. So knowing your values, when you behave and align your behavior and what you do in your life to your values, you're going to be happy, you're going to have high self-esteem, you're going to be confident. So well-formed outcome, values elicitation, those two things right there will change your life, I assure you. And then we have so many other NLP processes. Now, where NLP techniques come from is basically having modeled other successful people over time. And NLP is not so much about the techniques and the processes. In fact, Richard Bandler, one of the founders of NLP, said it himself. NLP is more of a mindset and an attitude. And through that mindset and attitude and the technology of modeling success, that is where the techniques come from. They stumbled across processes and techniques that seem to be somewhat universal. Out of that modeling, out of understanding human patterning and behavioral patterns. They elicited certain techniques and processes that work really effectively, like the swish pattern, like anchoring, like mapping across. You have been successful at some things in your life. Even if you feel like you're not successful in anything you've ever done, it's not true. You have been successful at many things. You got to count the small stuff. Especially count the small stuff, because you're not going to count yourself as successful unless you're being extraordinary all the time. And nobody's that way all the time. So the small successes count big time. So think about where you've been successful in your life, and you can model yourself. You can model your own success. You can model what your state was like when you were being successful. You could tap into what were those strategies and those patterns that you were using to be successful. Most of the time they're completely unconscious, and people will succeed at something and they're not even sure how they did it. Or maybe they think they know, but what they think has nothing to do with it. Ask a genius how they became a genius, and they will tell you, well, I did this or I did that. They don't know if that's what made them a genius though, because you'd have to model that, create a pattern around it, and then test it, and then see if you could transfer that to someone else and see if they could be successful that way. Most people don't know how they became successful or how they succeeded at something. Again, they can tell you what they think it was, but they don't really know. So you could start by modeling yourself a time when you were successful and then mapping that across. And there's many different patterns and techniques I'm not going to go into right here, but you can look this up on the internet. You can look up well-formed outcomes, you can look up values elicitation, you can look up mapping across and modeling. I've done videos on most of these things, so you can check out my own channel for some of the videos that I've done, or it's just this easy information you can find on the internet. But mapping across works really, really well when you've been successful at something and you want to be successful at something else similar to it. For example, maybe you're a really successful golfer, but you want to be more successful in soccer. Your soccer game is terrible, your golf game is really good. Well, that's close enough to map across because they're both physical activities. What if you want to be successful at something in your life and you can't find something similar in your life that you've been successful at? What do you do then? Then you can model someone else. Now that's a little more involved, and it's a little more than what I can cover in this video. But there's plenty of information out there, once again, on NLP modeling and how to model other people. So you find someone who is successful in the way that you want to be successful, and you use NLP to model that person, how they became successful. And you're very specific to how they became successful in that specific area. You don't want to model everything. You don't want to model their entire life. Believe me, no matter how successful someone is, they have areas of their life where they're not successful. You want to make sure and be careful not to pick those other parts up. You've probably seen time again, I've seen it many times, there's a successful person and people around them imitate everything that they do. They imitate their behavior, they imitate their bad habits, they just do everything. They try to talk like them. That's not NLP modeling. That's not true modeling. Unless you're an actor and you need to portray that person in a movie, don't do that. Find the specific context that they're successful in and stick to that specific context. Don't model their bad behaviors. And it happens a lot. I've seen it happen a lot from NLPers and non-NLPers. NLP can help anyone because, for the most part, you're just tapping into your inner resources and taking how you've already been successful in life and recreating that success in other areas. You're also discovering what your values are. You're getting clear about what you want. That helps you focus on it more. That helps you get there. NLP can help everyone. NLP can help you too. Check out my website, nlp-gym.com. Follow me on Facebook for real-time updates on upcoming workshops, online trainings, and talks that I might be giving in your area. Check out my website for some free NLP training. Also, I have some free hypnotic tracks that you can use for greater confidence and greater self-esteem, and also to help you de-stress and sleep better. If you like this video, please click like right down here. And remember, if you haven't subscribed, please do that now. Take care.